Chiefs offense is out there amongst the best in the league. How do they take command of not just the league, but this game in particular against one Washington team today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome in, Chiefs Kingdom. This is a fun Red Friday show, red-ish, I don't know. As we get ready for Monday Night Football, we're brought to you by Mazda. And everyone like Mazda, like our players, we sweat every detail because every time you make that move, you got to make a count. Pulling for the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for the highlights of moving the game forward from our friends over at Mazda. Move and be moved. We're moving things along because this is a unique week where the Chiefs are highly rated by the odds makers, yet they're the one team not in the playoffs. There's all kinds of back and forth about injuries and gotchas and things that we're going to go over. What do they have to watch for and be careful for? That's coming up later in the show. Before that, what does this offense continue to look like, and how can it evolve from here? And we're going to start with who's in and who's out, what that injury watch is. And the guy who's going to help us out the most is our Chiefs insider, the man on the beat from Chiefs Digest, Matt Derrick. You can find him at ChiefsDigest.com, Chiefs Digest on this platform, as well as 41 is the mic. Lot going on there. And we already know about the quarterback. Little strange that we found out so early about the quarterback, in my opinion, Matt. But with this pair of wide receivers, I think it is something the defense has to pay attention to. I expect both of them to go myself. I think we have it feeling pretty good there. Are anything about this scenario make you nervous, given that the quarterback is going to be the backup Mariota?
I mean, the only thing that would really make me nervous, I guess there's two aspects of it. I mean, one is obviously if you're a Chiefs fan, you've got some bad memories of Marcus Mariota. The Chiefs have some bad memories of Marcus Mariota. I mean, Patrick Mahomes was talking about today. I mean, everybody remembers that playoff game that did not go their way. But it's different. Marcus Mariota, different team. The only thing that, would really bother me about this going into it is just that I think with Mariota, Washington's just an enigma. I mean, I don't think you really know what to expect from them. They're 1-1 in his two starts, so he has filled in. You got a little bit of film on him, so it's not going to be a complete surprise what they'll do, but you can pretty much throw out a lot of what the Jaden Daniels film is. I mean, they're going to have to do some things catered to Marcus and his particular skills, and it looks like he's going to have their full complement of weapons. So there's I think a bit of concern there. You just have to have of what Washington can be, but at the same time, I mean, this isn't a very good Washington team. They're a 500 team right now. They're below 500, but they're not playing very well. So they're very inconsistent. You just don't want to be facing them the week that they start putting some things together. So if you're the Chiefs, this is where you do what you've been doing, which is you keep losing teams losing.
The nice thing about this for the Kansas City Chiefs is they have a great offense, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But the reality is, looking at this game, Washington doesn't have a good defense. So you're playing your strength against one of their weaknesses, and that doesn't even take into account that your defense is going to be going up against the backup quarterback, who I guarantee you Steve Spagnuolo has something up his sleeve for this game specifically. But what can you tell us about the injuries headed into this one, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, for the Chiefs, there's obviously a couple of things to look at. One, you won't, have Josh Simmons again, so Jalen Moore is going to be starting at left tackle. Trey Smith did not practice on Thursday with that back, and it was being called locked up on him on Sunday. Thursday, it was described as spasms. So take your pick, but back injuries and linemen are never good combinations. Wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs are pretty, careful with this one, especially since then you've got a turnaround at Buffalo on a short week. So we'll see what happens, Friday practice, Saturday practice. If Trey Smith gets out there, then obviously there's a chance he can play, but I think you got to watch for it. That's the one that I think that they could go without. If you don't have Trey Smith, obviously Mike Caliendo has played a little bit, filled in for him on Sunday when Trey came out. Thought really didn't play too badly. Again, the best thing you can say about an offensive lineman is you didn't say their name and didn't really hear much about Caliendo out of that game. So he would be the backup. They would probably have to bring up another guy, probably CJ Hansen from the practice squad would be elevated just to give them some depth. Other injuries, the only two to watch, Kareem Hunt did not practice on Thursday. What they call a knee bruise. This is not what he came out with the other day when he came out on Sunday. There you gave him a new ankle tape job, so it didn't look like it was a knee. So the knee, it seems to be separate from what he came out with and was sidelined a little bit during the game on Sunday. But Andy Reid said it was pretty much precautionary. It doesn't sound like it's anything that's going to keep him out Monday night. I also not necessarily expecting Jalen Watson to be out Monday night rather. He was added to the injury report. Wasn't one of the injuries that Andy Reid mentioned on Thursday, but my understanding is that this was an existing injury with the back bothering Jalen Watson. The plan was for him to practice a little bit and then go get treatment. That's exactly what happened. So let's see what happens on Friday and Saturday. It's probably a little iffy on Watson, more so than Trey, which I think Trey right now would be the one that'd be most likely to miss Monday night.
That does make sense. And I think it was positive news from Andy Reid about Josh Simmons that they're in communication, that he's taking care of business, family issue, nothing we haven't heard before, but good to get a little update and that it's continuing. At this point, it's going to be Jalen Moore for the foreseeable future. We just don't know who he's going to be playing against because Zach Ertz, Jonathan Jones, Von Miller, Deron Payne, Laramie Tunsil all out on rest this week. Not all those guys are ancient like Vaughn, so I'm a little interested in that. But when you look at the matchups overall, it feels like not only even with Trey Smith, who is obviously a high caliber player, if he is not able to go in this, I still feel like they have the advantage in terms of personnel attrition at this point in the season. Matt, would you agree with that, or do you think that the Commanders getting those receivers back in particular might be in better shape?
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting nuggets to it from the Kansas City side. And think about this, the Chiefs defense played 30 snaps against the Raiders. That's almost like an afternoon off. I mean, even if you play all 30 snaps, I mean, Chris Jones, was talking about the fact that I think he felt like he barely broke a sweat. This Chiefs defense is going to be more well rested going into this game than almost if you're coming off a bye. I mean, this might be more well rested. They probably do more activity on the bye week than they did against the Raiders on Sunday. But the other thing is that Andy, and certainly since they've started this winning streak, Andy Reid, what he has done has been to go really light on Wednesday and Thursday. And then in this case, you're talking about Thursday, Friday practice. And then on the final practice, normally Friday, this week it'll be Saturday, still the same 10-10-10, but more intense, a little bit more sped up. But he's backing off of them on the first 2 days of the week in practice and really focusing on technique, really just focusing on the mental aspect of the game and trying to back off these guys physically, because he knows and understands that right now this team is beaten up pretty bad, that they've had a lot of tough games and tough opponents, so that it's been a grueling stretch. And I'll be honest, I mean, no one's going to say this, but I certainly get the feedback from behind the scenes that there's a little bit of Brazil fatigue affecting this team, that, a lot of the team just feels like they've never really caught their breath and they're maybe caught up since Brazil. And that's been kind of maybe just a little bit in the background. But, Andy Reid's been trying to give him that bit of a break. And so he's told him, as long as you continue to win and as long as you continue to execute on game days, we'll continue this. But you've got to be checked in mentally. And that's what they're working on right now. So that's why I think that the Andy Reid's trying to give his team the break. I don't know with the Commanders necessarily you're seeing that on their side. So they're a little beat up right now. Are these guys getting rest on Thursday? Is that part of at least their attempt to give their guys some rest? Maybe. But Andy Reid's doing that with his whole squad, trying to give them the time that they need to rest and recover and restore.
And I think that that's just going to continue, especially as you try to keep the offense fresh. They got to maintain that power. And that means two things. Xavier Worthy and Rasheed Rice, that's next. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you're in business. You can get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across their app. It's super simple, and if you know your first one, it helps you get on a roll. Without a doubt, it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, when you're involved. It's not just for the casual fan, but if you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes that game day experience that much more. You got to get into it. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today and get started. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now average companies buried behind hundreds of apps to slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software delivered as a disservice. That's why you need Rippling. Rippling is a unified platform of global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They helped millions of businesses replace a mesh of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. By uniting employees, teams, departments back and forth in one system, Rippling removes all the bottlenecks, allows you to get the busy work out of the way. The silos that created that software are gone. And right now you can get 6 months for free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNFL. That's rippling.com/LockedOnNFL for 6 months free. Terms and conditions do apply. It all comes down to offense in Kansas City, and it's nice to have some of that back and forth ready to go. I was really intrigued, Matt, by the presser Andy Reid held. I think it was you that asked the question now that I think about it, so well done. The platooning versus having all three of your top three receivers on the field at the same time, I expect that percentage to change, and this is a unique opportunity against a secondary that I think can get got. So do you expect the trio to see more time together in this coming contest?
Yeah, Rasheed Rice only played 33 snaps against the Raiders, so you had a limited number of opportunities that you were going to have to get Rice, Worthy, and Hollywood all on the field together at the same time. And then obviously, the Chiefs are going to play some 12 personnel, so there's going to be a couple of tight end sets where you're only going to have two receivers out there. So there's another little breakdown, but I think we talked about this after the game. I counted 5 snaps where the Chiefs had all three of those guys on the field at the same time. One was the penalty on Max Crosby that wiped it out. So really only 4 times did they officially have these guys on the field. One, Patrick Mahomes nearly threw an interception, threw it straight into the hands of number 96 that dropped it. There was another incompletion. There was a 3-yard scramble by Mahomes and then a 12-yard throw to Worthy. So 4 plays, 15 yards, not that big of a deal. But 2 things to it, and this is what I asked both Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes today to kind of go into, is that how much of the benefit of having those 3 guys together, maybe not on the field at the same time, but at least playing together, means that the Chiefs have waves, that they're going to have 2 or 3 guys that you have to worry about. And even if it's only 2 guys on the field that are in your top 3, that's still a big deal. And Mahomes talked about, hey, if that means I'm going to have 2 of those guys and Tyquan Thornton out there with them who can give me a 30-yard gain, or Juju's out there and can get me 20 yards, that's the benefit. I mean, those guys being on the field can make it easier for Juju, Tyquan, Jalen Royals, whomever is out there. Brashard Smith too, which I thought was really interesting that Patrick Mahomes singled him out in that group about being out there with them as well. I mean, he's getting on to the fact that Brashard's a good guy to throw the football to, and I think you're going to see more and more of that going forward. So, and Andy Reid said, hey, you're going to see more situations with those 3 guys on the field, but obviously it's going to be a little bit game plan specific opportunities when the Chiefs are going to have a little bit more 11 personnel. So they're going to have 3 receivers out there at the same time more. And as Rasheed's snap count goes up, you're going to see more of those opportunities.
The thing I love about it the most, though, is you get Travis Kelce off the field. And I know people want Kelce on the field some, but you have to give him more rest. He needs to be somebody that is getting closer to 60% of the snaps, if not less than that. At least in my opinion, or this early in the season, maybe towards the playoffs, you start ramping him up a little bit, but give him a little bit more time off. Keep him as fresh as you possibly can for the playoffs, because he makes such a huge difference in this offense. So I absolutely love the thought process of going to more 11 personnel, especially considering, as you said, Matt, you have Juju Smith-Schuster, you have Tyquan Thornton, and we haven't even seen anything from Jalen Royals yet at this point. He's been on the field, but he hasn't done anything. They haven't targeted him. They haven't tried to get him the ball at all. we've seen more from Nico in the offense than we've seen from Jalen Royals. So, I like the fact that it's one of those things where you can just keep expanding what you have. And I do think that you're going to see Rasheed Smith on the field with those 3 wide receivers, and they're going to use that to their advantage as well. So I love that part of it as well.
Yeah, and I would have said this before the season, and I'll say it now even more emphatically. I mean, if you gave me a choice, who's going to end up with more receiving yards this year, Rasheed Smith or Jalen Royals? I would have said Rasheed Smith before the season, and I'm definitely doubling down on it now. And that's not a huge knock on Jalen Royals. It's just that, one, you're very fortunate that you're the Chiefs. Everybody's been healthy. And 2, he was dinged up a bit and therefore just isn't as far along as someone in his case might be. But remember, he's a 4th round receiver. Like I said, I mean, my comp for him going into his rookie season was Chris Conley as a rookie. And I think Chris Conley had like 199 yards. I mean, I think that'd be a fine season if Jalen Rice. He might not get there, but if he doesn't get there, it's because he's had 4 or 5 healthy guys in front of him all year.
And the difference is unlike last couple of seasons, those guys are all able to put out, and they're all part of the cog. They don't have to be the guy in any given week. So they don't have to rely, and they don't have to give him the treatment that Rasheed got and the treatment that Xavier got, and having to go be the man as a rookie. You can just sit back and learn, and I think that's great for him and for this offense. If there's one thing I would say that you got to watch out for is not pushing him too fast. And that's true with a number of other positions. Gotchas can get you, especially if you're not paying attention to the tripwires. Those are next. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe that it's not just playing a game, it's about redefining it. Those moments, they do more. When you put points on the board, they move crowds, they move culture, and they keep the game moving forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is the return of Rasheed Rice. It's very simple. It puts the cap on the explosiveness that is this offense. You certainly saw it already for guys like Juju Smith-Schuster, like Tyquan Thornton, that with a full entourage at that wide receiver position, they're ready to make plays and move everything forward. And when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. It's just like there's more to every highlight. There's more to every Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Gotchas, tripwires, the oh-nos, the yucks. I think we can get that one in there too. There's things, especially with a backup quarterback in that you always got to pay attention to, where you're maybe the history of Mariota actually solves that. But there's always things that I worry about from what I've done in the past, being a coach, being somebody that's trying to guide players that affect the outcome. When you're not able to do that as much, it is about not letting your guard down. It's about what they've done the last few weeks. And that's my question for you. Putting a bad team down, or in this case, putting a team that is a 500-ish team that you should put down, making sure that you get all the nails in the coffin and you lay them down to sleep as they should be. That's the biggest concern for me. Do you agree, or is there something else that's more specific?
No, I think you hit it, Ryan, because there's a lot of things about the Commanders defense that stand out to me, and one of them is that they're just not particularly big on big plays. I mean, Dorrance Armstrong and Von Miller both have, I think, 4 or 5 sacks each, but they don't put a ton of pressure on the quarterback. They're not at a particularly good pass defense. They're not a particularly good run defense. They're kind of bottom third of the league in both those categories. So they're not terribly tough, but they also don't create any turnovers. I think they've only got 3 turnovers all season from the opposition in 7 games. So that's the thing, is that you can't make mistakes. If you go ahead and give this, Raiders team 2 turnovers and give them free possessions and take away possessions for yourself, that's going to be a problem. But right now, with the way that this Chiefs offense is rolling, I mean, you've got to expect that they're going to put up points in the first half, and that's what you got to do. I mean, you have to take advantage of those early possessions. Put this team down, make sure that they don't have a chance. Don't give them hope. You want them to be where the Raiders were, which is, figuring out, boy, what are we going to eat on the plane on the way back home? Because you don't want them. Yeah, you don't want them at halftime actually thinking they got a chance to win this game. And you take advantage of your possessions. You don't turn the football over. You're going to be fine.
And I think one of the biggest keys for me, and I've talked about this all season, Andy Reid is continued to be aggressive. He needs to continue to be aggressive in this game. And I have no problem with what he did against the Raiders in the fourth quarter. And even in the third quarter to an extent, basically just putting in your backup quarterback at that point. So I think that's one of the things. If Andy Reid can stay consistent and be aggressive in this game, and then make sure that when they come out of halftime, he is ready to go on offense and the defense is ready to go. So you have a strong response in the second half. I think that is a huge key for this game and how things can be going. So, Matt, when you look at this game, it really comes down to Kansas City not doing what they've done several times this season in beating themselves. Would you agree?
Yeah. And, obviously what this team's done so far this year is that it's played to the level of its competition when it's playing good teams, but it beats the crap out of bad teams. And that's what the Chiefs haven't done for a while. So if they don't do it against the Commanders, then that's going to be a step backward for this team. But I think certainly the way they're playing right now, again, you play mistake-free football. You don't give the Commanders a chance to get into it. Your defense continues to play the way that it is. You don't let Marcus Mariota get away with any shenanigans to get something, fluky touchdowns, anything like that that's going to give the Commanders a breath of fresh air. You just got to deal with it. And on Monday night at Arrowhead, that should be the absolute perfect atmosphere for the Chiefs to win.
I think it should be too. And folks, we're going to run it down for you on Sunday, our late night release of that show to get you prepped for it. But I just want to bring up one guy that the more that I've looked back at the last couple of weeks of their offense, it's not so much Mariota like tripping them up or giving them something that they're not prepared for. It's a guy that I think doesn't get enough recognition in their offense, and it's not Bill. It's the other running back, and he generally come in and make a play. He can run the ball. He can receive the ball, and I think that's important because against the Chiefs linebackers, it's Jerry McNichols against Drew Tranquill for the most part is my guess, and that's one thing that if I had a tripwire that I was going to pick today, that might be one of them because if you're the backup quarterback, getting the ball out to say the flat or to arrow routes or something quick hitting to get the ball out of your hand is exactly what I would want to do. How worried would you be about that kind of concept, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. If the Chiefs have weaknesses that you can exploit, one of them is to try and get a running back matched up on Nick Bolton. Now, hey, Steve Spagnuolo is going to try to counter that. I mean, and they've done it a few times so far this season when teams have started to go that direction and start to pick some things up. They've moved some things around so that you end up with different matchups, whether it's Chamari Connor or Drew Tranquill taking up some of that. So, the Chiefs can make some counters, but it's once again, I mean, if Washington comes out with that game plan and they have some success with it, how quickly do the Chiefs respond? How effectively do they respond? And that's a great example of, how the Commanders can stay in this game and doing something that the Raiders couldn't do, which is the Raiders just couldn't sustain a drive. They couldn't stay on the field for more than 3 plays. If you're the Commanders, move this ball in increments. You probably can't move the ball in 45-yard chunks against the Chiefs. Their defense as a unit is too good. But can you find those little tiny gaps and exploits that maybe you can try and get some personnel matchups and win a couple of battles here and there? Sure. And again, I mean, that's what I think you've got to do against the Chiefs is that you've got to find a way to once again, I mean, probably play short games. You can't win a shootout against the Chiefs. What you want to do is probably try and limit possessions for both teams. You just got to hope that you don't limit the Chiefs to 6 or 7 possessions and they score on 6 or 7 of them, which is kind of what they did to the Raiders last week.
Efficiency is king. That's how you get W's. We're going to have it all for you as we get ready to preview this game. Monday Night Football, always a lot of fun. We'll be live post game. We'll hope that we can get Matt. It's always a very busy night on Monday night, so you'll see the attic of Arrowhead if we're up that late. Hopefully the lights will still be on. Matt, thanks for your time and joining us.
Never don't love a late night at Arrowhead with you guys. Right. That's always the right way to end the night.
Okay, if you say so. You're good man, Charlie Brown. Folks, we hope you'll be with us as well. We'll break it all down for you before that game is ready to kick off. But hey, It's going to be a backup quarterback and a whole slew of injuries. We'll have it all for you next week. Enjoy your weekend and the other games. We'll talk to you then.